Hey guys, we are back again taking a look at another set of Walgreens exclusive Diamond Select Nightmare Before Christmas figures. This time around we're taking a look at the Devil and the Undersea Gal. When I saw these on the store shelf, this was an instant purchase just because these two look pretty amazing. So I'm really excited to dig into this one. We've got them here in what seems to be the standard packaging for this line. You can see them there in the big open window with the Nightmare logo down there on the bottom. And then the back of this packaging has got product shots, cross-sell, and bios for our figures. So let's pull these guys out and take a look. All right, guys, here we go. We've got our second batch of Nightmare Before Christmas Diamond Select figures out of the box. We've got our Devil and the aptly named Undersea Gal here. And if you caught my last review of this particular line, you knew I wasn't too enthused by the Jack Skellington 2-pack that came with the little demon. This set, however, is very different. I'm very much okay with this set in general. I think these are two, unique looking characters. They translate pretty well into figure form. They do have some drawbacks, and there definitely are some limitations that kind of make these into budgety type figures, but I'm a little more excited about these. So we're going to take a look at them individually. We're going to take a look at the Devil first, and then we'll take a look at the Undersea Gal. So here's our Devil figure, and just like with the Jack figure and the Winged Demon figure before him, this guy is really sort of not an action figure. I mean, he is in the sense that it's not a statue, but it's not an action figure. It's a posable figure. So it does have some articulation, but it's very, very minimal. Speaking of, the head can swivel. The neck on my figure does move. I don't think it's supposed to, though. So it hinges around very oddly. I'm not really sure it's actually supposed to do that because it doesn't really want to move once I start trying to do that. So your mileage may vary on that. The arms have a little bit of outward movement, but not much, and then they have swivel, and then the legs can rotate, and the tail can rotate as well. That's it. So you've got, minimal articulation on this guy. He's basically just going to be standing still, maybe have his arms outstretched. Somehow you can hear the joints are really tight. But I'm not too concerned about that because once I got these guys out of the package, I was pretty blown away by the fact that this looks very much like what he looks like in the movie. I do think, however, that they are a little oversized. I believe that they're a little too big, but I'm not too sure on scale. They might be slightly larger than they should be, but in general, I'm pretty happy with the way this guy looks. His tunic and cape all have a nice texture to him. Most of the figure is just kind of cast in plastic, so you've got the red cast plastic with some gray painted on for the gloves and the boots. The tail is cast, the tunic is cast, and then there is some shading on the face. The paint job is okay. This is a budget line for sure. There's just no way around it based on the price point. But the paint on this guy in particular is pretty decent. I'm happy with it. The sculpt, though, is what really sells me on this because this very much, like I said, looks like the character from the movie. And he may be a very minor bit character, in terms of the denizens of Halloween Town. But I'm pretty happy with the way this guy looks. He's surprisingly nice to look at on the shelf with other figures. And in general, the lack of articulation on this guy doesn't really bother me because he's not going to be doing anything action-y. He didn't really do much in the movie. He's just supposed to kind of flesh things out, and I think he does that rather well. The Undersea Gal is pretty much just the same thing that we got with the Devil. It's just a posable figure, not really action figure level. She has a swiveling head, and then she has rotating arms, and she's got a little in and out. There's nothing else going on here. She doesn't have a waist swivel of any kind. She obviously doesn't have legs, and she's got the tail, which pegs into a stand. So she has a stand, the Devil does not. In like Jack and the Demon had full flight stands, this is just a base that she pegs into. I think her sculpt is pretty decent. She is pretty well sized. Look at her next to the Devil. So she's got a little bit of height on him, not much, but she is a little bit bigger. And I think she looks pretty solid. This is very much, just like the Devil, a solid representation of this figure in plastic. Where I think this one kind of falters a bit is in the paint job. The scales are all kind of painted on here, and they're a little rough, to say the least. They aren't the greatest. I mean, that's a lot of line work in there. So whoever had to do that, kudos to you because you had to do it, I don't know how many times to get these all done. But they are a little sloppy here and there. Some lines are thicker than others. Some lines don't actually even exist. There's some spots here and there that don't have lines on them. But overall, I mean, for this particular line for this figure set. I'm not too concerned about that. We do have a little extra blue paint on her nails. We've got the blue on her mouth, and then we've got the yellow eyes. I like the fin work that they did with the head and the gill kind of fins that pop out of the side of her head, and then the webbed hands. So she looks very much, like what I expect her to. The only real downside on this one is, the paint work is sloppy at best. Now, in addition to these two figures, we actually get an accessory this time around, and this kind of makes sense based on what these characters do in the movie. We get one of the many Halloween-themed Christmas presents that we see in the movie. So we get the Jack-in-the-Box here, and it's just an orange kind of rubbery plastic box with a very not nice looking clown painted on the front. This little cat piece is a separate piece. You just set it in there. And what's interesting is that these handles are actually, they're technically articulated. They're affixed in there with kind of plastic screws almost, and you can rotate them around. The box does not shut though. It's just one solid piece, but I think it's pretty cool to get something like that. It's very theme appropriate, and it works really well. So it kind of sells the idea that they're putting together this present, and that's kind of what this set's supposed to be about. You've got two of those type of characters putting together one of the gifts that is so very integral to the movie. So I dig that. So there you go, guys. That is another look at a Nightmare Before Christmas Walgreens exclusive set from Diamond Select. And I definitely like this one better than the Jack Skellington set, which I find weird to say because, it's Jack. Everybody loves Jack. I just don't like him in that figure form. These two figures work really well in the confines of what this set is. Kind of a budget line, minimal articulation. They don't have the greatest paint apps in the world, but they also aren't so bad that I don't understand why at this price point. We get that included little bonus present, which is nice, and the Undersea Gal includes the stand, which she definitely needs, but it's nice to have that kind of stuff included because they could have just let you flop her around on the table. So overall, this one is a winner for me. There are a couple other sets out there that I'm still trying to get a hold of, so after this one, I'm definitely going to try to take a look at more. So that's going to do it for this look at the Nightmare Before Christmas Devil and Undersea Gal set from Diamond Select. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.